Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. So yesterday finally NID released the 2023 guidelines for the GKS scholarship, and in the new guidelines for this year's scholarship they have made some major changes and a lot of students are worried and anxious about it. So when I was going through the guidelines I witnessed around 4 or 5 major changes, so we'll discuss about all those changes in the guidelines and the instructions thoroughly over here. I'll try to be as detailed as possible, and yeah, I will try to answer all the questions that I assumed you guys might be having. So let's discuss one after the other. The first and the most important thing that's changed in this year guidelines is the graduation certificate. So starting from this year, if you want to apply for the scholarship, you have to have a graduation degree or a degree certificate before the end of February, that is 28th of Feb. So now there are different conditions. Let's take each condition separately. So if I consider the first condition where students who are in their final semesters. So students who are in their final semesters will be giving their final exams in around May, June or July. So those students cannot apply. Now, because obviously you need to have a degree before 28th of Feb and you'll be giving your exams in May and June, so you cannot apply. So there's no provision of expected graduation certificate anymore. So you cannot apply anymore. The second class of students who already graduated last year, so in India and in a lot of other countries as well, the degree certificates are usually given after, I think, around 1 year. So because of that, a lot of students only have the provisional degree certificate right now and not the actual degree certificate. Now, such students who have provisional degree certificate cannot also apply for the scholarship starting from this year. You can only apply if you have the original actual degree certificate before the 28th of February. There are no exceptions to this rule. So if you have a provisional degree certificate, you cannot apply for the scholarship. If you have an expected graduation certificate, you cannot apply for the scholarship. If you are in your final semester, you cannot apply for the scholarship. You can only apply for the scholarship if you have the degree certificate in original with you before the 28th of February. So that's the major change that has been noticed, and it's causing a lot of anxious to a lot of students. Now, the second thing that I noticed is in terms of transcripts. So we have already talked about this before, that you need to be eligible to apply for the scholarship, and for that you need at least 80% out of 100, and on different CGPA scales it's different. Like on a 4-point scale it's something else, and on a 5-point scale it's something else, right? So that is exactly the same for this year guidelines as well. What's changed is that if your transcript does not have the CGPA scale which is there in the guidelines, you need to provide a converted transcript. For example, in India, a lot of universities have the CGPA scaling on 10, right? And 10 is not one of the scales which is given in the guidelines or which is given by the guidelines as per NID has prescribed. So in that case, you need to submit a converted scale. Now, when you submit a converted score or a converted CGPA through Scholaro or from other websites, you can only submit it after getting it authenticated or stamped by your university. So earlier, like till last year, even if you're, like for example, even if you have a 10 scale or if you have a 7 scale, if you submit your university's explanation of how the scale works, it was okay. But starting from this year, according to the guidelines, you have to submit a converted score. If you are not, like if your transcript is not as per the scale which is already given in the instructions. And if you don't submit a converted score, you'll be disadvantaged. It's clearly mentioned over there that if you don't submit a converted score, you'll be disadvantaged. But for people who already have like their marks on a 100 scale or on a 4-point scale, 5-point scale, 4.3 scale, it's okay because all of these scales are already available in the guidelines. But the scales which are not available in the guideline, and if your transcript has one of those scales, then you need to convert it and then submit the converted one along with your original transcript. This is another change that I noticed. And if you don't do that, like I said, it's clearly mentioned that you'll be disadvantaged in the evaluation process. The third thing is that even if you don't have like semester-wise GPA available in your transcript, it's completely okay. You can directly mention the CGPA, the cumulative, the final CGPA that you got in your undergraduate program or in your master's program. And you can leave all the semester sections empty. So in the application form, there is a section where you have to fill individual CGPAs of each semester, and then there is a section where you have to fill the CGPA, the cumulative. So if you don't have individual ones, just leave the entire space empty and fill the CGPA one. but you cannot leave the CGPA section. If you leave the CGPA section, the cumulative section, you'll be disadvantaged. So you can leave the individual GPA sections, but you cannot leave the cumulative CGPA section. That has to be filled in. Also, a lot of students get confused about letter of recommendations. Now, according to NID and according to the guidelines, you only need one letter of recommendation, right? So that is the requirement of NID. But in the guidelines, it's clearly mentioned that what NID demands is okay. Obviously, you have to fulfill all the demands according to the guidelines, but then you should also fulfill the guidelines as prescribed by the embassies and universities. So if you're applying through university track, you need to check the university's instructions. If a university is asking for 2 recommendation letters, you need to submit 2. If an embassy is asking for 2, you need to submit 2. So it's clearly mentioned in the guidelines provided by NID that you have to fulfill all the guidelines according to NID, but then again, you also have to fulfill all the instructions provided by your universities or embassies, depending on the track which you are applying to. And usually, universities always demand 2 recommendation letters. So even if it's mentioned 1 recommendation letter, it's highly, highly recommended that you take 2 recommendation letters from your professors, or 1 from your professor and 1 from your, like if you're working, then from your supervisor or something, if your degree is professional degree. So depending on that, but try to prepare 2 recommendation letters and not just 1. And I think the very last thing that I noticed in the application was towards the end, it's mentioned that if you got selected for the scholarship, when you're coming here, they have asked you, like the NID have asked you to prepare extra apostille copies of your degree and bring it with you because you might need it at different stages. So one copy, like 1 apostille copy you'll be submitting with the application. You need to make few more apostilles and bring it with you here in Korea to keep it with you so that you don't get troubled later if you need like a apostille copy of your degree. So it's best to prepare few extra copies of just the graduation certificate. As far as other documents are concerned, I think these were the major changes that I just discussed about, starting with the degree, then the transcript thing, and like a letter of recommendation thing, and the last one that I talked about. So these are the only major changes, and the rest, all the documents are exactly the same, and you can proceed with the application as it is. And yeah, so as far as the birth certificate is concerned, citizenship documents is concerned, it's all the same like we have already discussed before. So make sure of that and prepare the documents well. And all the very best to all the future applicants. And I really hope some of you get through it. A few of you, like my subscribers who are already watching my videos. And I know it's a really shocking news, and it was really shocking for us also, because there are a lot of applicants who are in their final semester and they were planning to apply for the scholarship, but now they cannot. Even a lot of people who are already graduated but just with provisional degree cannot apply. So it's really sad, but don't lose hope, and just get your documents prepared for the next time. And yeah, there's always a next time, so don't lose hope, and all the very best to the future applicants. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and until I see you again, bye-bye.